Good morning, everybody. I'm looking at the clock, and we're 45 seconds ahead of 11 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. How about that? I think we're all ready. We've made everybody sweat long enough this morning, so appreciate that. Good morning again, and welcome to Richard H. Berry Hall, home to North Dakota State University's College of Business and the College of Agriculture, Food Systems, and Natural Resources Department of Agribusiness and Applied Economics. Philanthropy made Berry Hall a reality 10 years ago, and it was created in the vision of the late Richard Berry, a renowned financial consultant and economic catalyst who was described by some as Fargo's doctor of financially ill businesses. Over time, this Fargo doctor and his family discovered the desire to do good for others, and philanthropy resulted. And NDSU was a beneficiary. That legacy lives on today through the Berry Foundation, and we're grateful for its foresight and leadership philanthropy that sets the backdrop for today's program. My name is John Glover, and I'm CEO of the NDSU Foundation and Alumni Association, and we're grateful that you've all taken a few minutes out of your day to be with us. We are honored to have several distinguished guests, including our Governor of North Dakota, Doug Burgum, our State Board of Higher Education Chair, Don Morton, is also with us, as well as many faculty, staff, friends of the university, and many other interested guests who are here. Over the next few minutes, we are going to share exciting news about a new level of philanthropic impact at North Dakota State University. 3.5 years ago, President Dean Brashani described a vision in his State of the University address, suggesting that this place could aspire to even greater levels of achievement and distinction. Moving to the next level, however, would require big thinking, big ideas, and new ways to deploy resources. And philanthropy needed to be a catalyst to invest in faculty, students, research, scholarship, and programs. Working in partnership with university leaders and staff, foundation staff, and benefactors, philanthropy is making a difference and responding to President Brashani's call. Since October 2015, nearly $200 million in current and deferred gift support has been received through the NDSU Foundation. Much of this support is already making an impact. I could share countless stories of donor after donor who cares about NDSU's mission, and I could share countless stories of students and faculty who are directly affected by this generosity each day. Every gift, every philanthropist, and every friend has a personal story of why they have belief and confidence in the direction of the university and are compelled to support. Today's announcement moves NDSU another step closer to pursuing a new level of academic distinction and achievement, and one that will directly address many of the challenges facing North Dakota, the region, and the world. It's now my pleasure to welcome NDSU President Dean Brashani. Dr. Brashani is completing his 9th year as president and has provided outstanding leadership to make NDSU what it is today. Being a university president is not an easy job, right? And it certainly wasn't what his parents had in mind when he was growing up on a struggling cattle ranch in California. But during his tenure as university president here at NDSU, our reputation and impact have strengthened and is now positioned for achieving the next level. Please join me in welcoming President Dean Brashani.
Well, thank you, John, for such a gracious introduction, and thank you, everyone, for being here for this incredible event. As many of you have heard me say before, what enticed me to leave Texas, where I might add it's 67 degrees today, and to come to North Dakota was North Dakota State University. However, it was higher education's, and more specifically NDSU's, capacity to change the economic trajectory of the entire state and reposition North Dakota on a national stage that did it for me. I recognize that's a provocative vision, but for a person who has spent his entire career in higher education as a faculty member and administrator, it was a rare and irresistible opportunity and challenge. I cannot claim to be the first to imagine a different North Dakota than our state founders in 1889. The entire history of our state and region is replete with those who have imagined a better life and better North Dakota. Names like Dalrymple, Burgum, Marseille, Offutt, Shield, Schaefer, and McGovern come to mind. They are names with long and storied histories tied to our state, and their roots, as well as their passions for North Dakota, run extraordinarily deep. I say that not simply based on what they achieved in their lives, but rather on what they contributed to the success and visibility of North Dakota and North Dakota State University. A new family name is about to be added to that list. As we know, NDSU is a place of great achievement and even greater potential, and I am pleased to confirm that assertion with the establishment and launch of the Challey Institute of Global Innovation and Growth with an initial gift investment of more than $30 million. This initial investment is the largest collection of philanthropic support focused on faculty and student scholarships and institutional history. However, its goal is $60 million to catalyze new discovery, learning, and service to the state, the region, and the world. The Institute is being named in honor of longtime NDSU benefactors Sheila and Robert Challey, thanks to their leadership commitment of $10 million. The Institute's focus will be in areas of global innovation, trade, and economic growth, and while drawing on disciplines from across the university, it will be administered through NDSU's College of Business. We will immediately start the process of hiring the Institute's executive director and up to 15 full-time tenure-track faculty in fields including economics, education, entrepreneurship, finance, engineering, political science, public policy, and sociology. In addition, the Institute will support 20 doctoral and master's students. The Institute's premise is really pretty simple. The problems we face in global economy related to trade, immigration, and economic volatility are some of the most pressing issues we face as a nation, and certainly in the Midwest, where we're particularly reliant on international markets and facing serious workforce shortages. Establishing this institute allows us to bring together the disciplines and people needed in the right part of the country and at the right institution in NDSU to deal with those challenges. The scope of this challenge will elevate the relevance and distinction of this university on a scale never before imagined, much less realized in our state. However, it's just one piece of the breadth of initiatives underway and coming in the near future at NDSU. Thank you for being here for this piece of changing the trajectory of North Dakota.
Thank you, Dr. Brashani. It's now my pleasure to welcome North Dakota's 33rd governor, Doug Burgum. Governor Burgum took office on December 15th, 2016, and has been our state's biggest champion in advancing initiatives, ideas, and strategies to diversify the state's economy, create 21st century jobs, and revitalize communities. Doug's family roots in North Dakota go back several generations to the homesteading days on the prairie. And his grandmother, Jessamine Slaughter Burgum, was the first woman to enroll at NDSU. This began his family's long passion for higher education in North Dakota. And of course, we are very proud to call Doug one of our own. Please join me in welcoming Governor Doug Burgum.
This is a historic day for North Dakota. It's a big day, and it's not every day in the life of anyone, in the life of a university president, in the life of a governor, you get to be with a distinguished group like this that includes in the audience, I'm looking around, some of NDSU's biggest supporters. We got our head of our State Board of Higher Education, former NDSU national championship coach, Don Morton. We've got the president, we got the donors are honoring today. We've got a thing, but I think it's great that we were able to do kind of a golf clap for the $30 million thing, but I'm saying right now, standing ovation, $30 million gift for the Challeys, the Koch Institute. Let's go, man. This is like, wow, 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 wow. I'm not sure that any of us here today realize what a incredibly historic, significant day today is. And let me just let's talk about the idea, because ideas can transform institutions, they can transform states, they can transform countries, and they can transform the world. And the idea that we have put before today that has come through the leadership of Dean Brashani, Dean Scott Bollier, who's doing a fantastic job here, coming from ASU to North Dakota. ASU, one of the most innovative schools in the country right now, working together with philanthropists, because philanthropists make such a difference. But it's the idea that brings people together, the idea of a global institute around innovation and around global growth, tackling some of the biggest challenges of our day. Trade, immigration, the role of technology. These are literally the issues that you read about in our papers every day. And there is no agreement right now. The divisiveness around some of these issues is bigger and stronger than ever. And we have an opportunity with this institute to get the ideology out of the room and get the data into the room. We have an opportunity to actually do the work to help people come up with the answers that can help guide us towards solutions that can lift the world forward, because we know that in the last 20 years, and I know this personally because I spent the majority of that time in working in a global tech firm and multiple global tech firms, is that there's never been a time in human history where 1 billion people have been lifted out of poverty. And they've been lifted out of poverty because of free, fair, and reciprocal trade markets. They've been lifted out of poverty because of innovation and technology. And they've been lifted out of this because of the free movement of capital and labor, which means that labor and capital can move to where it gets its highest return. This works. It's proven that it works. And yet we're having a debate in our country about something that is exactly the opposite of what works. And sadly, most universities are heading down the path supporting it. For us to have an organization that's going to have complete academic freedom to be able to pursue with data and talk about the ideas that actually work to transform and lift people up, and to be doing that in our state, a state that is entirely dependent right now on global markets. Our two biggest industries that drive virtually all of the tax revenue for our state is the energy business and the agriculture business. And both of those are markets that are driven by commodity pricing beyond our control. And so we also have an opportunity to talk about how can we add more value to those industries here? How can we take more control of our own destiny? So I would just say this is incredibly historic. It's incredibly important, not just to NDSU, not just to the state, but actually to the nation and the world. And so again, for those visionaries that have put together the idea, for those philanthropists that have come together, I say thank you, and I say congratulations to everyone. Of course, it's interesting, the seed of this idea, Mancur Olson, Buxton, North Dakota, NDSU grad 1954, was considered possibly a Nobel Prize economist, contender. He was asking the tough questions: what makes nations wealthy or not? And again, we have an opportunity to pursue those roots that he laid down here to actually become be in a position of global influence. We know today, when we take a look at how economies work, supply chains cross back and forth across across our borders. The historic renegotiation of the trade agreements with Mexico and Canada, which I hope will be ratified, are better in every aspect of the old NAFTA agreements. But as part of that expiration, people understand that if you're driving a car today, parts may have come from a dozen countries. It may have been assembled in 3 different countries. You know, our supply chains and businesses don't see borders the way politicians do. And so we have to in a state that is dependent on trade and is dependent on markets, we have to work to take more things in our control. We have an opportunity not only to add more value, but we have an opportunity to diversify our customer base. There's countries like Japan that have 128 million people living in a space twice the size of North Dakota, where we've got 760,000 people. They import virtually 100% of their energy. They don't grow enough food on their island of Japan to support themselves. And what do we in North Dakota have? We've got an abundance of food and energy, and we are exporting those every day, but we have an opportunity and a responsibility to develop relationships around the world. You know, in our administration here, Lieutenant Governor Brent Sanford, First Lady Catherine Helgus, we are honored every day to serve the people in North Dakota, and we understand the important role that higher education plays. And make sure that everybody understands the facts. The budget that Brent and I put forward for higher education had increases, not decreases, increases in higher ed funding. But part of the way that funding mix was changed was to support things through $40 million of challenge grants to support this kind of donor-directed, transformational type investments that can move institutions forward, and at the same time looking at how we can at a base level become more efficient in how we deliver education. We know that one of the things this institute's going to look at is the issues of immigration and therefore the issues of workforce. And we're at a time like we've never been in our state. We have 30,000 jobs open in our state. We have a time like we've never been in our nation. There are more jobs open in America than we have people seeking jobs. That's never happened since the birth of our country. And so everything about economic development, when we talk about growth, this institute's going to talk about growth. Growth is impossible without a trained and skilled workforce. And you can't have a trained and skilled workforce without higher education. And so higher education plays an even more important role than ever before in helping us lift people to higher levels. And we lift people, part of the way we do that today is by making sure that we are filling the jobs of the 21st century. We also know that government can get in the way. Today in North Dakota, there's over 60 different boards with 80 different licensing agreements. And if you're the trailing spouse of a military individual coming into North Dakota, you often, even though you might have a license in 1 or 2 other states, you're not able to work in North Dakota because we don't have reciprocity with other states. And you know what trailing military spouses? 90% of them are female. The unemployment rate of a trailing military spouse is 4 times women in general right now in our country with record low unemployment. This is discriminatory against women, and it is also holding back our economy. And this is just one small piece, but states like Arizona have decided to go with reciprocity for every licensure, for every agreement, because the licensures in many cases become so restrictive that they've said, if we eliminate that, we trust that every other state who's gotten so restrictive, if a nurse is a nurse in California, they can be a nurse in Arizona. If you can braid hair in Louisiana, you can braid hair in Arizona. And by doing that, it's not just, it's the trailing spouse. We have jobs open in North Dakota today where people might say, I'm willing to come to North Dakota to take the job, but my trailing spouse can't work there because of licensure. We're blocking our own growth with restrictive policies, and we need to take a hard look at that. Thankfully, this administration is supporting that. At the federal level, we've received a $450,000 grant over 3 years to take a look at how we can be less restrictive in licensing and still make sure that we're protecting all of our citizens. Because again, the whole paradigm is flipped. We're in a position, it's not about job protection, it's about job expansion, it's about universities helping fill the need. And economic developers, if economic developers are working on trying to recruit companies to our state, I'd say that's interesting. But when we got 30,000 jobs open, we should probably be putting our full attention towards how do we train and educate a workforce as opposed to how do we create more jobs. And when we talked about jobs for so many decades, we thought that's all economic development was about. Economic development today is about education, it's about workforce. And so again, what this institute is going to do with the support, Bob and Sheila, incredible what you're doing. I'm so proud to call you a fraternity brother here, North Dakota Beta SAE. Way to go, Bob. Anyway, but what you're doing, and Charles Koch, the Koch Foundation, I mean, incredible gifts. These things are going to have a disproportionate impact. This can change the directory of this university and our state on, again, some of the biggest issues that we're facing in the world, not just in the state. Trade, immigration, innovation, technology. These are the things that are going to shape the future. And we have a chance to lead right here. So to President Rashani, Dean Bollier, all the donors, the students, the impact, we're going to hear from an amazing student here shortly, but the impact this can have on students from around the world is going to be nothing short of incredible. So this is a big day for North Dakota, a big day for NDSU. We've got a bright future ahead of us, and it's gotten a lot brighter today because this institute is going to help pave the way. So thank you for letting me be a part of it. And Dean didn't get to say it, so I get to say it. Go Bison. Okay.
Thank you, Governor Burgum. Faculty and students will be at the core of the Challey Institute, which will be a forum to exchange ideas, explore scholarship, learn from experts, and contribute to society. We're honored to have Bukola Bakari, a PhD student in the College of Business's Transportation and Logistics program, here to share a few thoughts from a student's perspective about the Institute's impact on their lives, their scholarship, and future in society. So please join me in welcoming Bukola.
Good morning. I'm very excited to be here today to share with you all how fellowship and scholarship has been shaping my educational career and leadership journey. My name is Bukola Bakari. I'm a third-year PhD student in the College of Business, Department of Transportation, Logistics, and Finance. I am also a Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Fellow, a graduate assistant at the Institute, Upper Great Plains Transportation Institute, yes, and at NDSU. Scholarship has been very helpful to me. When I was searching for a PhD program 4 years ago, 3 things mattered to me. 1, a place where faculty members would invest in me and allow me as a researcher in training to flourish. 2, a place where I can bring my family and I could continue to raise my family. 3, a place where I could get a financial support to be able to leave a full-time job and go to school full-time. So I visited spring of 2016, and NDSU and the state of North Dakota provided me all 3. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm originally from Lagos, Nigeria. I've lived in the United States for over 16 years now. So this is a great opportunity for me to be able to have fellowship. The fellowship that I've gotten here at NDSU is helping me to attend conferences all across the country. For example, I was able to attend the American Public Health Association conference, the International Conference for Transportation and Health, and also the Conference for Production and Management Operations Society, to present the work that I'm doing, to showcase all the investment that my faculty have been putting in me. Not only that, the training, the workshop, and the seminars that are being offered at NDSU is helping me to hone on my job search skill, research skill, and grant writing application skills. And as a result of this, I wrote several grants to multinational corporations and institutions. And part of that grant was able to help me and some other 3 PhD and undergrad students last year to build a portable vegetable garden for 32 low-income families in the Fargo-Moorhead area. And also, I'm able to make some small contribution towards my family while going to school full-time. I'm sharing all this to let you know that your contribution is paving way, not just, for building students in the four walls of the university, but for building leaders that will go out in the world and be a strong problem solver. So I am very grateful to be here and honored to represent the voices of my co-student to say we are very grateful for your contribution, your gift, and your support for NDSU. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you, Bacala. It's now my pleasure to welcome Scott Bollier, the Ronald and Kay Olson Dean of the College of Business. Scott joined NDSU nearly 3 years ago and has spent his academic career actively engaged in understanding and advocating for policies that foster dynamic, vibrant communities that best allow businesses and entrepreneurs to thrive. Since Scott's arrival to NDSU, his college and programs are attracting unprecedented levels of philanthropic support. Dean Bollier will now provide an overview of the Institute, its mission, and goals, and please join me in welcoming Scott.
Wow, what a day. So it's really great to be here and great to be following after Bacala and Governor Burgum and President Brashani. On behalf of the College of Business faculty and staff, thank you so much. Hasn't really sunk in just how big a day this is. I was on video last night having to talk for about an hour about what this means. And one of the questions that I got stuck on is, has this sunk in? And not at all. The fact that in 6 months, we went from an idea that was, my first email to President Brashani with it was, this is us dreaming big. I have no idea, I'm spitballing here. All right, so we just tossed an idea up into orbit, hoping it might have some legs. And 6 months later, we're over $30 million in support, and we're celebrating this today. So it's been a really amazing and fast ride. I had a set of comments ready about origins, and it's like Governor Burgum hacked my computer because you killed it, all right? You completely killed it, and I totally stole my thunder. I'm gonna try to walk through my vision just for a minute, though, and share with you why I think this is critical, why it needs to be at NDSU, and why it had to happen now. One moment before getting to that, though, Bacala represents what I hope every day in my job is like. My wife is here. She was going to bring the kids with today, and that would have been a train wreck. We got 3 little ones at home. One of them thinks I work in a rock quarry, which is kind of accurate. Like, I just beat on rocks every day. The other 2 little girls who are a bit older think I go and boss people around all day, and not the case. In fact, I think they manage me as much as I manage them, my faculty, and the great team that I get to work with. At our best, and my best days, what I do is try to make opportunities like the one you just heard from Bacala happen. And I think as a college, that's what we're trying to do in the classroom. And you see impact like that, and you're reminded this is why we want to get at it a little bit more. And this gift helps us get at it on such a scale larger than what we're doing currently. And it's so ridiculously exciting. Now, back to origins of this just for a second. I'm an economist, so that's reflected in what we put together here is my values, all right? As an economist, came to NDSU, and one of the little things that I knew about NDSU, but just kind of had in my back pocket, is that in its history, there's a very underappreciated person. Governor Burgum mentioned him, Mansur Olson. 55 miles up the road, he grew up in Buxton. he was the Carson Wentz of economics, okay? Like, I mean, he's possibly our most prominent graduate who nobody ever knows because it's like North Dakota, all right? Like, just humble through and through. This guy went on to an amazing career at University of Maryland. He died, unfortunately, probably 10 years too early, or he would have won a Nobel Prize in economics for his work. The Economist magazine, in fact, wrote an obituary upon his death saying just as much, and they're pretty good as reporters, okay? So, knowing that that's in our history and knowing that he was tackling throughout his career a question we still haven't figured out, how in the world are some countries rich and other countries poor, is really where we tried to ground this thing from an origin standpoint, okay? We haven't figured that out yet. You go to sub-Saharan Africa, and they're the most entrepreneurial and dynamic and hardworking people on the planet. They work way harder than us every day, and yet they are barely surviving. And here we have ridiculous material abundance, and we don't even have to work that hard for it. How in the world did that happen? How did a kid in Buxton, North Dakota, or in my case, Iron Mountain, Michigan, okay? I grew up in like one of the poorest countries on the planet, not on the planet, in America, and I have this dream life, okay? Mansur had a pretty darn good life too. How does that happen, all right? That's what we're trying to tackle as an institute, and Olson, as an economist, was committed to working with anyone, anywhere, across the university. In fact, he's most cited in political science. Okay, economists look at him and they're like, you know, he was good, not great. He didn't measure enough. He didn't do like enough empirical work and like big data. Okay, he actually was a rock star, but it took other disciplines to really appreciate and embrace what he did. That's the vision of the Institute, is that we will be a hub for anyone who wants to play ball with us across the university, as long as you're interested in tackling the big questions that are at the core of the Institute, okay? What's going on with trade? Let's have a conversation about it instead of screaming, okay? What is sound immigration policy, not only for our country, but for the world? And what's at stake in that debate, okay? My wife and I moved here 3 years ago. We were in Arizona. We saw firsthand what diversity and immigration means for a region. The city of Phoenix would not function without robust tolerance for immigration. When we moved up here, one of the most surprising things to us was Fargo is a ridiculously rich and diverse place. There's an old Atlantic Monthly piece about Fargo's tolerance of immigrants. And it's really amazing. If you haven't read it, check it out. It's like high praise of Fargo. We came and we stumbled on that and said, wow, this really is an amazing place. And it is going to be absolutely critical that we have a conversation about immigration if we want this state to propel forward. Minnesota is having the same conversation. They're facing the exact same issues. Why not have something in this region with academic, like nerds? Let's have the nerds think about this and figure out what is right for us as a country. It should be here because of the issues we face. It should be here because of Mansur, and it should be here because we have the infrastructure and the people to get it done. So thank you all so much for your initial support and by coming out today. There's so many wonderful people who have supported me the last few years. Greg Tavine's here from Emerging Prairie. The downtown Fargo community has been absolutely wonderful in welcoming and trying to partner with the college and just make everything that we're seeing today happen. And finally, thanks to Sheila and Bob. Sheila's name officially is first on this institute, and that's for a reason. We thank you for your sharing, for your belief in us. So it's wonderful to be here today, and thank you.
It's now my pleasure to introduce benefactors who have made it possible for us to be here today. Philanthropy is at the heart of Sheila and Bob Challey, and the heart of Bob and Sheila themselves. The Challey's connection to NDSU goes back generations, with Bob's parents both graduating from the university, and his mother eventually teaching food and nutrition classes, working for Doug Burgum's mother, who was dean of the college at the time. Bob's uncle, Bill Urine, served as a longtime Gold Star band director from 1948 to 1968. Bob graduated from NDSU in 1967 with a degree in chemistry after stirring chemicals in a bathtub in the top floor of Dunbar Hall. I don't know that they're still storing chemicals in the top floor of Dunbar Hall today, that's for sure. But that degree parlayed into a very successful real estate development career in California. In 1981, Bob joined the NDSU Foundation as a trustee, which began a long-time philanthropic relationship that Sheila and Bob have had with NDSU. They support scholarships and faculty in performing arts, have supported facility projects, and many other campus initiatives through the years. The Challey School of Music is also named in their honor, recognizing support for one of their favorite passions. Please join me in thanking Sheila and Bob for their leadership, philanthropy, and passion, and welcoming them to the stage.
I can't stand too much of this, so. You'll notice that Sheila's not here, but she's right there, so she needs to stand up at least, please. We had a family meeting and we drew straws as to who was going to be up here, and I had the short one, so unfortunately. It's been interesting. I'm pleased to be here and thankful. Those that have preceded me today are distinguished and they're stars in their field. I appreciate the comments all of you made. Some of them I was going to make as well. So that shortens my speech down to only 25 minutes. It's always interesting to hear Doug get started on something. We were at a football game last fall, and I just went over to shake hands and say hi, and pretty soon I was in the middle of a lecture about the energy business in North Dakota and how oil relates to wind. And it was amazing. So I'm going to record every time we have a little talk, Doug, because it's history or it's economics that I might not know. It was mentioned that we have a long family history with the state. I won't repeat it, but we own a farm outside of town. It's many of you know Riley's Acres. Well, we're the other part of the section. It came into the family not by homestead, but my grandfather purchased it from the railroad back in the late 1800s, and it was one of those pieces of square miles either side of the railroad track that was given to the railroad to pay for the work. And you have those funny rolls of paper here that have all of the history of your property on it. It shows, in my case, that property came from the United States, signed by Ulysses S. Grant to the railroad to my grandfather, so it's pretty cool. I know I'm going to miss some of the things that I'd like to say, but and there were so many great things said earlier. I reflect on all those. What was I going to say that they said? I'm going to find one thing. I got to say something about my dad and my mom. They attended school here back in the 20s, and uncles and aunts on both sides of the family also attended. I have about 1 million first and second cousins, and probably a whole bunch of others that attended school here. So we have quite a long history. My dad was kind of in the campus swing of things. He turns out was in the initial chapter Blue Key. Many of you know Blue Key and are members. He was in the first class. I'm trying to remember who the advisors were, but they are people who now have their names on buildings and so forth here. They were important professors of the day. I was in Blue Key, Doug was in Blue Key, because we have a little book that everybody signed, and it goes all the way back to my dad. And the book exists over in the music department where the advisor is. So if you ever want to go look, it's really fun to look at. My dad was also drum major of Doc Putnam's military band at the time. And I also was drum major here, which I think is very cool. And my mother was the first active member of the Kappa Delta sorority chapter on campus when they went national. So I kind of have a lot of reasons to be here. Sheila, when we got married, decided or started coming here, and that was 30 years ago or so. We debate whether it's 30 or 28 or some number, because I always forget, but she's been here during my time at the Development Foundation Board, which has been a long, probably too long a tenure for some on the board. So, but over the years, we've come to appreciate NDSU in a whole bunch of ways. We mentioned that we do some things in music, and that was kind of our passion. Students, important to us. Sheila, if she would get up here, would tell you some of her stories about meeting parents of kids who were able to attend because they received a scholarship. So I can't emphasize how important it is to the kids, to the students, that we all get together and get in there and do some more of that scholarship work. Interestingly, the governor has an assistant here today, Jace Beeler, and he was one of our scholarship recipients. So that's very cool too. Does he play music around the office or any of that? I don't know. And finally, it's come full circle for us. After a number of relatives were on the faculty, our son Connor, who is here now, is on the music faculty. So we're very proud of him. One of the reasons that that we're here and are doing things, and one of the results or one of the side effects of things like giving money away is that your kids get less money. So, so Connor and his brother and sister are in that boat, and they'll just have to do it by themselves somehow. I also want to talk, I'm going to get around to the Institute in a minute. Before I do that, I'm going to tell you that I have really hard time with all the names of institutes that we have. When I was in school, we only had the College of Pharmacy. We only had the College of Home Economics. Now they all have different names. I have no idea what they are. And the institutes that we have, even the Global Institute for something here, I'm having trouble with. So I'm going to make reference to a few things that are important, but I'm going to screw up the names of the institutes. The College of Business has been remarkably fortunate and to have really good philanthropic support. This began, a long time ago, but significantly in the last 3 years, there have been several major initiatives that have benefited the school. And I just want to mention them because our gift here is only a part, first of all, a smaller part actually, of the total gift that will be required to run this. And so there are others that should be recognized. Many people would rather be anonymous, and many of them are in the audience today. But I can tell you that a dozen or so individuals and families have contributed to our institute, and they deserve as much credit as we do. And in a while, I want to talk about leverage, which which I think is super important in lots of philanthropy. But I wanted to say that about 3 or 4 years ago, Jim Osborne and his wife made a major contribution to the business school in the area of entrepreneurship. And that program, again, which I don't know the name of, is ongoing, has been very impactful. After that, Tom Wold was generous and started a lecture series, and shortly thereafter became involved with another institute put together. It's run by Jeremy Jackson, Professor Jackson, and that too had an impact because it was local money raised to match outside money, once again from the source of the Charles Koch Foundation. So that was a big deal. And then on top of that, we've gone ahead with the current effort. I have to say that leverage is hugely important. I think you'll hear in a moment from representatives of the Charles Koch Foundation about their views and how they do this and what they hope to accomplish. But they have joined us. I'll take away his speech too before he gets up here. It's only fair. But you'll find that of the $30 million that we've raised so far, roughly half of it has come from the Charles Koch Foundation and from outside investors around the country who aren't even NDSU alums or friends. So they had the same, this individual had the same views as we did, had the same goals in education as we did, and because of the Koch Seminar Network, we were able to bring in another $5.5 million above the Koch's $10 million. So we have to be incredibly happy with that. Some of you know that we are in the beginning stages of a capital campaign here. Sheila and I were very happy to be appointed co-chairs of the campaign along with Steve and Marianne Swantek. We've been working on the campaign now sort of quietly for about 1.5 years. We have about 20 or 25 additional couples or individuals who are working as a committee. We're calling them the ambassadors. We're out looking and contacting and talking about the philanthropic benefits that NDSU needs to get, and we're being very successful at it. We won't announce our campaign publicly until the fall, but I think you will be absolutely amazed at the progress we've made so far. And the hard work of this group is not to go unnoticed and unrecognized. The current institute, adding 30 and maybe as much as 50 million, is a huge bump in the campaign. It's the big idea. It's a big deal that was mentioned earlier. And I don't want to forget to say that the way we got involved was that we knew as campaign chairs that we were going to be expected to make a substantial contribution. It sort of works that way. And in the process, we've spent the last year or so looking at initiatives around campus, talking with Dr. Brashani and others about what the university needs. We all know it's scholarships in some form, and then everything else. And so in that process, we're trying to find something that we could be passionate about and support wholeheartedly. One day last summer, not more than 9 or 10 months ago, I suppose, we got a copy of Scott's proposal that he had written. And I read about half of it before I put it down and called John and said, this is it. This is the big idea that we are interested in. And I'm not sure I read the last half of it yet, but I will read it. I didn't need to. It was really well done. I mean, I have to hand it to you. It said what you were going to do and why, and it was in plain and simple terms. The goals are wonderful. They've been talked about it earlier. I won't cover that again. It's the big deal. This is what we're looking for in philanthropy. We want the big deal. We want this campus community to come up with ideas of this sort that can be supported, because this is what sells an investor on giving money. We want to give it to something special, and I think this is a perfect example of that. So for those who are going to be in the campaign and as givers over the next couple of years, please get your passions lined up, figure out what you want to do, look for the big idea, and from the campus, we need more big ideas. So with that, I'm going to stop, but I really appreciate being here today. We're thankful that we've been able to make those contributions, and go Bison.
Thank you, Bob. Sheila, would you like to, last chance to pipe it? We're grateful for your leadership, and has been alluded to before, this, the Sheila and Robert Challey Institute for Global Innovation and Growth would not be possible without partnerships. And the Challeys are providing leadership support for that, as well as the Charles Koch Foundation and many other benefactors. And we're very pleased to have Ryan Stowers, Executive Vice President of the Charles Koch Foundation, here with us today. The Charles Koch Foundation supports scholars, students, and partners developing creative solutions that will help people transform their lives, achieve their potential, and make the world a better place. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Ryan Stowers of the Charles Koch Foundation.
Thank you so much. Thank you for, this is a big and impressive group. And I've got two things going for me. One, as several have pointed out, everyone's already given my talk. And so I'm in a good spot there. And then I can be brief because I'm the one person keeping you all from lunch. So I promise to be very brief, but I am very honored to be here. And so touched by the comments from those who have already shared their thoughts and remarks. One theme I wanted to just touch on, well, first of all, I just want to thank the Challeys. As John pointed out, and as several have pointed out, it takes leadership, and they have really stepped up, and we're following their lead, and so excited to be at the table with them, and as they've pointed out, several other supporters, some of which are here, and so thank you all for your partnership on this. A theme that has come out is this idea of the power of vision, the power of ideas. And that's really why we're here. We're inspired by what the university has proposed to do here. We're inspired by what Dean Bullier and President Bashani and everyone involved has set forth as the agenda for this new institute. We're excited because we've seen, we're a large foundation. We're at supporting universities, over 370 universities across the country. So we've been doing this for quite some time. I think Charles and his philanthropy has been supporting higher ed for the last 50 years. We've learned a lot, and we look for vision. We look for ideas that inspire, and this project has certainly done that, and that is one reason why we're here. The other reason, and as a couple of folks have pointed out, we've been supporting NDSU for a few years, I think since 2013. We're here for another reason, and that's the culture that seems to be present here at NDSU and in this community in Fargo, in North Dakota. We heard from your great governor and some of the impressive areas that you all are focused on and trying to make people's lives better. And that also is important to us. There's a culture, there's a Midwestern culture that resonates well from with a guy that's from Wichita, Kansas. And so we're again honored and have been thrilled to be partnering with NDSU for quite some time. I want to also, in 2013, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that Tom Wold and Lisa Wheeler, you talk about the power of ideas. Tom's a UND guy, but he's supporting North Dakota State University. I don't know if Tom's in the room, but again, the power of ideas to get people to come here who wouldn't come otherwise. And as Bob pointed out, there are several partners who are anonymous who have no connection. And so again, I think the vision of what the school's trying to do is inspiring. Let me just break it down for you. And again, this reiterates maybe even a finer point as to why we're here. And it's the role that education can play in individuals' lives. It can unleash potential in people's lives like nothing else can if it's done right and in an environment where ideas can be exchanged openly, where there's challenge, where there's dialogue, open, respectful discourse, and where people are taught to learn how to think critically and face the challenges headstrong that they'll face in life, and empower people to improve their own lives and improve the lives of others. And that's the power of good education, and that's what the vision of this institute is all about, around specific topics that matter so much to this region, this state, the country, and the world. And so again, we're so inspired to be here. We're honored to partner with such great people like the Challeys. And I guess I'll say go Bison. I'm a Utah State Aggie, but go Bison. Thank you.
We're almost done, folks. So to recap what we have done here today, NDSU has proudly announced the establishment and launch of the Sheila and Robert Challey Institute for Global Innovation and Growth, a $50 million vision that to this point has collected more than $30 million in total support. There's plenty of opportunity as the Institute unfolds to join us in being able to make this Institute and impact our students and scholarship for years to come. To close our program, I'd like to ask President Brashani, Governor Burgum, could you please step forward and face the audience? Wakala, join me up here. So step forward. We're going to have everybody stand. And then Sheila and Bob and Connor, come on up. And then Ryan, come on up. And then we'll just turn and face the audience. And this is one last time for everybody to be able to say thank you. Oh, how about the guy who's running the Institute in the second row? That's what you get. Join me in congratulating and thanking everybody for being here today.